Hello and welcome to the Winners Never Quit podcast. Start your week the right way with a laugh and a dose of motivation. Listen to the stories of our guests, learn from their experiences and how they have built a winner's mindset. Hosted by myself, Jarvis, and if you could like, follow or subscribe to the podcast, I would really appreciate it. Now today, I'm joined by a very good friend of mine, traveller, YouTube sensation, Adam Radcliffe. How's it going, brother?
Mr. Jarvis, how are you?
Mate, it's good to see you, buddy.
Very good to see you.
Just come back from Africa, looking very tanned.
Thank you. Doing my best.
Yeah, you know, you're doing all right. And, mate, we start every podcast the same before we get into it. So how do you define winning in your life?
You're lucky I've done my homework, mate. I knew you were going to ask that. I know I've listened to a few, and I'm a big fan, so...
Good lad.
Yeah, no, I had a think, and for me, there's a bit of a misconception, but the main thing for winning for me is being the best version of yourself. So when you're facing everyday adversities, things are knocking you back, it's about getting up and pushing on and, like I said, improving, being the best version of yourself. You don't need to be the master of whatever domain you're in to be a winner. So if you're a 100-meter runner, you don't need to be winning Olympic gold to consider yourself a winner. If you're a podcaster, you don't need to be beating Joe Rogan's ratings to be a winner. You know?
We will do one day.
One day, I'm sure, yeah. But as long as you're addressing your adversity, you're getting up and you're improving and you're trying your hardest every single day, that's what makes winning for me, I think, because they're the properties that are going to get you there in the long run.
Mate, I absolutely love that, mate, because there's so much comparison nowadays online, and I see a brilliant tweet. Can we normalise having a normal 9-to-5 job and not being in debt? You don't need to be in Dubai 24/7, and it's so true.
Exactly.
As long as you turn up the best version of yourself, mate, you can't go far wrong.
For sure.
Yeah. Right, mate, the reason I've wanted to get you on is because we're good mates, and I want to hear your story. I want to hear all your stories from Africa, because we've not linked up since you've been back. But what I love about you, mate, is about a year ago, you were just like, right, I'm done with this. I want to go travelling. I want to start a bit of a YouTube. You've really backed yourself, and I'm sure you love it. I know you love it because I watch the YouTube videos. Yeah. So tell the audience, mate, about how this all started and how you came about sacking off the 9-to-5 and you've been all over the world over the past year.
Yeah, so it came about from a huge low point, to be honest with you. So, like, as you say, it was exactly a year ago now, June 2022. And I was sat there in my job, and I'd already been scheming for about 8 months, and I thought, I can't do this any longer. Like, I'm saving up. I'm gonna have a plan. There's definitely something more for me out there, and this isn't hitting the spot, you know. I just turned 25, and I thought these next 5-10 years are gonna slip away from me unless I do something about it now. So we got to the position where it's June, or let's rewind 7 months. I'm thinking, I need to quit. I can't keep going. And then what I did was I decided on an end date. So I stopped playing that mental battle with myself. Am I going to quit? Am I not? I'm like, okay, I'm doing another 8 months. I'm saving up. We're going to have the money to pursue this dream. Fast forward to summer last year. I thought, okay, that's it. I've bought the GoPro. I'm going traveling. I knew whether I wanted to make it a career or not, I needed to see more of the world, and traveling was a major passion of mine. So that was the first stop. It was a case of, this is the mission to become a full-time adventurer. And so combining that with a bit of fun on the side, obviously with the travelling, I'm just chasing and pursuing challenges wherever I go.
What job were you doing?
I'll leave the company name out, but I was an operations manager for a huge distribution company. So I was managing up to 70 people at one point, working shifts. And so anyone that knows anything about the company, it's like hugely intense. There's no work-life balance. It was, you know, obviously I was in charge of all those people, but also working upwards of 50-hour weeks and on shift as well. So in my final year there, I was doing 7:30 p.m. to 6:30 a.m. So 11-hour days, and that, you know what shift works like yourself. It just messes with your mental health, and just wasn't healthy, wasn't fulfilling. I knew that I was going to lose my sanity if I kept doing it as well. So I took so many skills from it, and massively, with hindsight, enjoyed the job. Yeah, but in general, knew it was time to move on and use those skills for something else, something where I felt I was fulfilling my own purpose and then giving back to other people as well.
As well, mate, you went to uni, you went to Loughborough, didn't you?
I did, yeah.
And you studied?
Mechanical engineering.
Okay, so you're a clever boy.
Not stupid.
Mate, he's got it all, mate. Good looking, smart. What I want to know is, so you obviously go to uni. I didn't go to uni. What was your plan going to uni, or did you just think, I don't have a plan, so I'm just going to go to uni?
No, it's the latter, yeah. So, I think it's changing a little bit now, but especially our generation, you know, the past 10, 15 years, it's been a case of, okay, you're good at these subjects. That's what you do. You'll find a job in there. You go to uni, you study a similar thing. So it was...
Because what I want to know is mechanical engineering...
To adventuring.
To
operations
manager. Like, how did that?
Yeah, so let's say 16-year-old Adam, he's good at maths and physics. They were like my strongest subjects, and someone comes in and does a talk and said, engineers are really good at maths and physics.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay,
You're like a real-life Superman, aren't you? You're Clark Kent, bit of a nerd, and then takes off the top. He's just absolutely
well, that was
ripped.
it. You've
Dick
seen
skin lean.
You should have seen the old glasses I used to wear. And
I have seen them. They're awful.
Little skinny rat, yeah. So I'm 17 years old, and I'm thinking, okay, this is probably the path for me. Like, everyone's going to uni. You know what it was like. Like 95% of people were trying to get into uni somehow.
Yeah, literally. Like, everyone I know went to college. I think I was the only one that like joined the army. I don't think anyone got an apprenticeship. My best mate, who's now a Sparky, was like, "Yeah, I'm going to go to college, be a PE teacher." He didn't want to be a PE teacher,
exactly.
you know. But it's just like, yeah, you've got to go to
it's
college.
The path. It's what everyone else is doing. So, decided mechanical engineering was broad. It had good, job prospects when I finished, and it lended itself to my skills. So I went and did that. And then by the end of that course, I enjoyed the challenge, but I was like, I do not want to be doing physics behind a desk for the rest of my life. I want to be doing something more stand up. So then with my operations manager job, it was a bit of data analysis using the degree, like critical thinking, and then also people management as well. So I was like, okay, this ties in nicely with a bridge between what my skills are and what I want to move towards, because I love like managing and inspiring people and being part of an operation as well. Yeah. So then that's how we transition into that. From where we were, yeah.
And then you realised, nah, this isn't for me.
And yeah, it's like a battle with yourself, and you're thinking, there's this famous clip from Joe Rogan podcast where he talks about when he used to do a full-time job, and he thought, just like, this life is not for me. Like, there's something else out there. This isn't going to satisfy me. I'm not going to live a quiet life of desperation. I need to find something that lights my fire.
Have you seen the quote? It's probably might be the same quote, and he says, if you're stuck in that grind and you've got kids, because it's easy for you and I, when I rode the Atlantic, to just think, right, I can take a 5-month career break and we'll talk. It still takes a lot of bravery, though, to sack it. I'm guessing you're on a pretty good wage.
Yeah.
And people have trodden your path, but it's not the done thing, is it, to like, right, I'm on a good wage, I'm going to sack this off and just go work for no money.
Yeah, exactly.
Travelling. But he talks about it and he says, you need a plan. And I'm guessing you utilised sort of that thing, and you're like, right, in 8 months, I'm fucking done. I'm going.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Like, 2 points I want to make. One is I give the perception online on YouTube and Instagram, it's like happy-go-lucky guy kind of, I'm stumbling across making content, whatever. But behind the scenes, like, it's all focused around this long-term goal of becoming, a full-time adventurer. So everything I do is intentional. Everything I do is for the story, whether it's on YouTube or for, getting the best content and inspiring the most people. And like you said about having a plan and having the privilege to go after it and do it, working that job gave me huge context for that, because there were so many people, whether they were immigrants or nationals, they come in, they've got someone knocked up at the age of 17, 18, and they've all of a sudden got
easily done, mate. Easily,
you know more than most.
We'll definitely edit, babe. If you're listening, Adam doesn't. I barely even know the guy.
He doesn't know anything.
I don't. Yeah, God, he don't, only just met him. Edit that.
Anyway, back to my deep speech about
what deep speech about people maybe getting in a situation.
Yeah, exactly. So they're in a situation like you've got now, the socio-economic situation where you're having to provide for a family. You've got a partner that's trying to make ends meet as well, and then you've got 3 kids that you're providing for. You can't jump ship and try something new and work for a year for no money when you're in that situation. You're constantly trying to make ends meet. And so I've encountered so many of these people where they've got themselves into those situations, and it's unfortunate. And so I think this is something I've heard on the internet a fair bit. Like, one of the major keys to success is not messing up majorly, like in the early days. So avoiding big mistakes keeps, not that obviously having kids is a mistake, but putting yourself on the back seat and not being able to pursue what's optimal for your life goals.
That's so true. I mean, and I always say, whatever you're doing in life, as long as you're happy, it doesn't matter. And if you do want a family early, that's absolutely fine. But what I mean is, as soon as you've got other people to provide for, you can't be selfish. Like, you and I can be very selfish.
Yeah.
We can go, drop of a hat, go, and it's just so, not having those ties makes it so much easier, isn't it?
And it's like planning that into your life as well. So obviously I don't want to have to be, or have the ability to be selfish in 10 years' time. I want a family, I want kids to provide for. So it's like taking advantage of this situation to be as selfish as you can to set up your future empire, as it were.
Yeah, 100%. So we've quit, we won't name them.
Yeah.
And talk me through, what was the first thing when you sort of set out? Because you've got quite a pretty pretty big following now. You're just shy of 10k on YouTube, nearly 100,000. You're 8,000 on Instagram. But it wasn't always like that, was it? You literally started with none. So talk us through the sort of the first few months of traveling and just what drove you.
Yeah, it's a weird transition, and it's also the imposter syndrome in your head as well. Because if I go traveling, I've just taken off from Heathrow. I'm in the Philippines. I'm on an island. People are asking me, "What are you doing here?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm kind of just traveling, but I'm also kind of trying to make this a full-time career." You know, it's like, "Oh, you do YouTube? You're making videos. You want them in the videos? How many subscribers do you have? 200."
Yeah.
You know, so it's a weird transition to go from wanna be the guy to like now I consider myself like almost the guy, and then finally making it. So yes, for context, it was. Obviously, everyone starts. I started the YouTube channel a year ago, 0 subscribers, and then I started the Instagram a year ago as well. But I had 1,000 because I previously tried to push it a bit. And the goal was just YouTube growth. It was like telling stories. I went away in October, and I've previously relied on YouTube when I was struggling with life to just vicariously live through other people. You know, be able to turn on a video, escape to paradise for 20 minutes, and then get on with whatever challenges you're facing in the day. So I'm thinking, I'm away from October to March here. I'm going to provide that for
So
some
that was
people.
October 2022?
Yeah.
Is that when you went away?
Yeah.
See, I thought... Yeah, because I always thought you were away like when I was away rowing, but that wasn't the case.
Yeah, no. It was literally only, 9 months ago now that I started.
That's nuts, yeah.
Yeah, and it was just pumping out the stories, a combination of like having fun, a bit of hedonism, but also like completing challenges. So I learned to dive for the first time, learned to surf, was just exploring like desert islands in the Philippines, telling some good stories. And it got to the point where YouTube was slowly trickling up. Philippines helped a lot with the YouTube. Then I got to Australia for Christmas. And all of a sudden, one picture, it was me topless, obviously. All my Instagram's topless if you haven't seen it yet.
Because he's got nothing between the ears.
No,
that's all
exactly.
He's got.
I've got to compensate for something. So I'm on a boat. It was after I'd swam with dolphins in Bali in Indonesia. And it was a beautifully aesthetic photo, if I do say so myself. But suddenly, Instagram just caught onto it.
Yeah.
And it got like maybe 8,000 likes. And I thought, hang on, this has never happened before. Everything else was getting like 200, 300 likes. Yeah. And I thought I may as well capitalize on this. So what I did then was I made a pledge to myself, like at least every 2 days, I'm going to pump out some good content on Instagram and focus on that. And then just rode the wave all the way up to 80k almost, to be honest. Like it was wild to start with. It was like 1,500 followers a day for about 2 months almost. Just like smashing the reels, smashing the photos.
Yeah.
And people just got on board with the journey and like living vicariously through me. And I hope a combination of that, picking up fitness advice, picking up mental advice as well, and inspiration.
What I want to know is, and something you said then, your struggles, and that's why you thought, right, so I've used YouTube to help me get through some tough times in my life. That's why I want to start. But tell us more about those struggles, mate, because like you said, you're a happy-go-lucky guy, mate, on YouTube.
Yeah.
So tell me more about that. So look, as well, mate, on your Instagram, I wouldn't look at you and think, oh, that guy's struggling.
Yeah.
Or has struggled.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Like, obviously that's the case, and no one ever shows the bad sides of any aspect of their life. I think it was, as I alluded to before in terms of choosing a path, it was a case of, I always felt like there was something better for me out there, and I was just following the steps, doing my best, and the good days were going to come, So whether that, if anyone's not seen a picture of me when I was like 16 to 18, I was skinny, no confidence, like
built like the side of a fiver.
Exactly that.
Used to run round in the shower to get wet.
Very good.
I'm only taking the piss a little bit now because we're about to go to the gym after this, and I know you're going to absolutely school me. So he's going to get his own back.
You're giving me extra motivation.
Yeah.
But no, like no confidence, got no attention from girls, and I was like,
I bet that's changed.
Well, can we cut that? I'm kidding. It's fine. And thinking like, it's like that quote in Fight Club. It's like we're all told we're going to be movie stars and rock stars, and then we slowly grow up and realize that it's not the case, And I was still like holding on to that. I'm just a kid. When I grow up, something's going to happen, And I go through the process. So it's school. I'm working on my body through uni. Got a good degree, like in the shape that I want to be, pushing on completing challenges, and then get the job. And then I'm like, okay, when does it happen? When do I feel like I'm on the path that I want to be on? And then that's where obviously the switch was made. So it was kind of like a life of quiet desperation, I guess you could say, from the ages of when you start really thinking about your future, from the ages of about 14 to 22. It was constantly thinking, what's my life going to look like? Is this really where I go from here? Does that make sense?
No, it does, mate. It does. But what was the I know we spoke about it, but can you pinpoint a moment where you just thought, right, if I want to leave this sort of quiet desperation as you describe it and go on and do bigger, better things, what was sort of can you pinpoint one moment, or is there not one moment?
Yeah, honestly, so it's kind of building and building and building, and I don't know where I'm going to get the activation energy or the strength to go and make a change. And there was actually a moment, so October 2022, which is 7 months before I quit the job. I'm not much of a crier, Jack. I don't know about you, but I've probably cried about 3 times in the last 10 years. So it's only when like something hugely bad or like the worst thing that's happened to me so far happens that I'll cry. And so I'm looking at myself in the mirror about to start a night shift at work, and I'm thinking, I can't do this anymore. Like I'm at the end. Like I'm going to lose my sanity if I keep going. So that's kind of where I thought, okay, we need a plan here.
Yeah.
And it was actually reading, you know, Aldo Kane?
Yes, I do. Well, I don't know him personally.
Yeah.
Follow him.
Yeah. It was actually reading his book that was a major catalyst.
Life on the Edge.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's the one. And he talked about how it kind of a very, very similar journey of like he goes through this, he comes out of the army and he's like, okay, what do I do now? Like I can't find that purpose. And so he went and worked, if I remember correctly, on an oil rig doing some deep sea diving, like high paid job where he didn't enjoy it. He just got on with it. And then he started he's a rope specialist and obviously an adventure expert.
Yeah.
And seeing him have the strength from nothing and the confidence from nothing to go and quit his job and pursue what he wanted kind of made me think there's nothing stopping me from following my dream job, because it was a case of I'm going to leave this job, I could just get another one and be happy enough and
like be happier, similar money, but work 9 to 5 and then you're like, oh, this
is a bit better.
All right, someone talks about it and it's like,
it's the region beta paradox you're thinking about, I think.
Yeah, I think, who's your favourite podcaster?
Yeah, Chris Williamson.
And he talks about it, and it's like, the most dangerous place is comfort, where things aren't that bad.
Yeah.
Because when things aren't that bad, we don't need to change. You know, it's like, oh, we'll just stick this out. I'm in an all right job. You know, I'm okay. I'm pretty happy with my missus. So when you get into that, you're like, oh, okay, nothing needs to change. It's only because it maybe got so bad for you that you're like, right.
Yeah, exactly. It's that activation energy you need to make a change. You know, it's like you put a there's another analogy where you put a frog in cold water and you slowly heat it up and it boils to death. But if you throw a frog into boiling water, it's going to jump out again. You know, it's a similar concept. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, were you?
That's the end of the analogy.
Yeah, that's a brilliant analogy. So, mate, tell me about, you've been travelling now, and then tell me about the first part. What was one of your favourite parts of that first bit before you went to Africa and climbed Kilimanjaro?
Yeah, there's a lot, and
I know that's a really hard.
It's a hard question, but there's one thing that majorly springs.
Like, if anyone's going to go Southeast Asia, what would you recommend?
Honestly, my favourite country. I've been to all of Southeast Asia now, not all on this trip, but I've done everything except Myanmar.
Yeah. I was literally about to go. Been to Myanmar, have you?
There we go. And Laos, actually. They're the only two.
North Korea?
That's not, I don't think that's
it's not Southeast Asia.
So the Philippines is my favourite country. And so it's like, have you watched The Beach, the DiCaprio movie?
No, I've never heard of it. No, of course I haven't.
So that's what kickstarted a lot of Thailand's tourism in the early 2000s, because people saw that and they thought, oh, great adventure, I'm going to get over there. And now Thailand's had an absolute boom over the last 20 years. Yeah. The Philippines is better nature, like better landscapes, but without the attention that Thailand's had, without the degeneracy, if I can call it that. Yeah.
And so Did you go to Pattaya when you were in Thailand?
I didn't know.
No, you've not missed much. I've never been there either. So whatever you've heard about it, I wouldn't know. I didn't go.
There you go. Yeah. You signed an NDA, did you?
Yeah. Right, moving on. Philippines, please.
Yeah, so in the Philippines, it's a country made up of thousands of islands as well. So if you want to get between them, you've got to take boats, you've got to fly. So it's much harder to travel around, and that puts a lot of people off. But there's an island or like a region on the west side called Palawan. It's getting Instagram famous now. And you've got two major aspects.
So basically, you need to go there ASAP.
Yeah, like I do think in the next 10 years, it's going to turn into a new Thailand. So now's the time to go to the Philippines, and I've got loads of recommendations. Go and watch my channel.
Yeah. Great plug.
Yeah, but I did a boat trip. It's called the Tao Expedition. It's one of the best things I've done in my life, and it was a 4-day remote island expedition from a place called El Nido to Coron in the Philippines. And you stop on islands that either are completely uninhabited, like desert islands, most beautiful things you've ever seen, or they've got just a few locals, like populations of less than 1,000, where they're just knocking about on the beach and in wooden huts.
So I've actually been to the Philippines when 2013 after Typhoon Haiyan, and again we were just sort of island hopping. But mate, really beautiful place, and that's after a typhoon, so it'd been walloped by that cyclone. But yeah, mate, Totally agree, mate. Really beautiful. The people are so nice, and it's a cool place. But sorry, go on. I'll let
No,
you
just
finish.
one major thing to talk about in that experience was how cathartic and relaxing it felt to be on a desert island. You've waking up at sunrise, you're going to sleep just after sunset, you're with a good group of 20 people, no one's on their phones, you've not got no internet connection, you've got no technology, you're just enjoying the moment, you've got enough food to get by, and you're having fun. And you're you're barefoot, you're in the ocean, you're showering it outside, sleeping on a beach hut 5 meters from the shore. Obviously, it sounds like a dream, and it is a dream. And so, going from that transition of like crying in the mirror to being there, it was like, okay, you made the right decision. Yeah,
no, awesome. Something that people will be interested in is, how do you stay in shape when you're traveling, mate? Because like you just said, we're on a minimal diet. You're on a desert island. I can't imagine they've got a brand new beaver rig and plates up to 200. So how do you stay in shape when you're traveling, mate?
There's a lot that goes into it. It's about being intentional with sort of everything you do. And I say to people quite a lot, don't use me as a benchmark for what I'm doing now to try and get in shape, because I'm not building any muscle now. I'm just maintaining, right? And it takes a lot of energy and effort in order to build muscle. But because I've put the groundwork in the 9 years of bodybuilding, I know exactly what it takes to maintain my muscle. And that's all there is to it, and maintain my body composition while I'm on the move. So say, for example, I'm going to be on 1.5. There was a time in Indonesia where I was on 1,500 calories a day for 5 days on an expedition. Yeah. And so
working hard and eating less.
Yeah, exactly. And for context, I need about 3.5 to maintain my weight. But obviously I'm still in shape. How did I do it? What I did was, I knew before the expedition I was going to be doing that. So 2 days before, I front loaded some calories. I was on about 4,000 a day. I trained, obviously, when you get the opportunity to eat a lot and train, I'm doing it. I'm training at least normally 3 times a week, unless I'm, doing an expedition or have no access to even the floor to do press ups or whatever. Like when you're on a boat, you can't even do press ups. Yeah. But, and then would you
ever try and do press ups?
On a boat?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
So when we would be on ship when I was in the military, and you'd be on the bench press or whatever, because obviously these ships are a lot bigger probably than the ones you were on. Yeah. It's quite funny when the ship rocks, you might have like 60 on and you're like throwing it up like it's just an empty bar. Yeah, on a barbell. Okay, yeah. And then when the ship pitches, you'd be like that. Oh my
120
God.
coming down.
Yeah, you're just like that. Jesus, like hanging on, and then it pitches again. You're absolutely repping it out.
Strategic timing.
Yeah, so it could be quite fun,
Yeah. But no, so it's just about being smart with your choices and using the knowledge that I've gained over the time, and also not trying to build muscle. So then I would come back from the island and I would backload calories again. So I would have like 4,000 calories, 4,500 for a couple of days. And in general, when I'm traveling, you've got to forego some social norms in order to fulfill the greater purpose. So like if I'm eating dinner with people, sometimes I'll just order 2 mains, and they're like, who's this guy ordering 2 mains? Yeah. And often it would be at least 2 lunches or 2 dinners. Yeah. And then protein shakes on the side. I take away some protein with me normally. And that is just doing those little things in order to maintain. And another plug, if you don't mind. So
absolutely not.
So I get no monetary gain from this. It's just completely free value. I made an email list.
Yes,
where
I've seen.
Yeah, so I'm giving out my top 10 levers for staying in shape while on the move to anyone that wants to download it. All you have to do is go to my Instagram bio and story highlights. You'll see the link. Click on it. Put your email in. It will go straight to your inbox, and it will tell you the 10 major things that I use to stay in shape while traveling. And they're kind of no-brainer hacks, but unless you really think about them and implement them, that's the key to my success.
It's only obvious if you know.
Yeah, it's true.
Really,
that's why I lay it out as well, because I take stuff for granted. But it's like, unless I really do.
What do you think, mate? When you were starting out, you didn't know. It's all a lot trial and error. Yeah. Just seeing what works, pick up bits of information. So no, for sure, a young lad or a young lass starting out on their journey would really appreciate stuff like that. And I have the conversation with my little brother. I'm like, I'll do this. And then he's like, I tried that and it worked. I was like, yeah, because I've been doing it another 15 years, mate.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, that's absolutely fine, mate. Plug away. So we've done Southeast Asia. Recommend the Philippines. You've come back to the UK, and that's when we trained together. I absolutely schooled you on the ropes.
You did.
Yeah.
I was hoping you wouldn't bring that up.
You can watch that. That's also on YouTube.
I've deleted that one.
Yeah. No, and then we went to, then you went to Africa, mate. So tell me about Africa.
Insane. And so I was kind of in a frantic mood when I came back to the UK. But obviously, we saw each other, and I was back for a month, and it was miserable. I didn't see the sun. I saw the sun twice, I think.
When was that? Back in March.
March. Yeah. Horrible month this year. And I love the sun, obviously. Like, I hate winters. I hate winters in the UK. And so I got 2 weeks in. I was happy to be back, seeing mates, being productive. And then the latter 2 weeks came around and I thought I need to get out of here. So I didn't even plan the whole trip before I went away. I just planned the first bit. Obviously, Kilimanjaro was stop number one. Planned that, got my safari semi-booked in, got a couple of flights booked in, and then we were away. So it was like planning on the go. I didn't know how it was going to go. There was a bit of anxiety there, and it could not have gone better. Like everything exceeded my expectations. So I did a month in Tanzania. Yeah. And I did 3 weeks in Cape Town, a week and a half in Namibia, and then went and did a week in Zanzibar on like the island off the east coast after.
Oh, mega.
And yeah, so much I can delve into, but probably the most applicable to the podcast in terms of Tanzania were the week on Kilimanjaro.
Yeah, let's talk about it because it didn't
go to plan.
Yeah, it didn't go to plan, did it, mate?
No, so I'm a very like headstrong, confident individual, and I thought as you're the same, like you don't know how you're going to react unless you test yourself. Yeah. So I'd never been to that kind of altitude before.
You've been
to 4,000. Yeah. So like I've slept at 2,800, climbed to 4, come back down again. Had no adverse effects with altitude. Yeah. And this time
I've done a very similar thing. So I did Gran Paradiso in July last year, maybe 2022. Again, mate, no adverse conditions. I mean, don't get me wrong. I felt short of breath near the top. Yeah. But I wasn't sick or anything. I didn't feel like I was going to cream in. So I can imagine the sort of mindset you went into Kilimanjaro. How high is Kilimanjaro?
Just under 5'9". It's like 5,895 meters or something like that.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So you're going in, you're confident. Yeah. Maybe a little bit overconfident?
No, not overconfident. It was like I was nervous about how the altitude would hit me. I knew it would hit me. I didn't take Diamox. It's a common pill in mountaineering to help you acclimatize quicker. It helps you breathe deeper and longer, obviously to speed up the acclimatization process. So I thought I won't do that, and let's just see how we go. So for altitude context, I'll run you through the numbers really quickly. Come from England, like 50 meters above sea level, fly to Arusha, 1,000 meters above sea level. Next day, we drive to the starting point, 1.8k above sea level. Then we walk up in day 1 up to 2.8k. So already in a day, I've gone from 1,000 to 2,800 meters altitude. Yeah. Day 2, 2,800 to 3,800. Day 3, we go up to 4,600. So it's like the climb high, sleep low. We go up to 4.6 and we come down to 4. And so when we got to 4.6, the guides were saying, people start to feel a bit of altitude sickness here. So I was thinking, oh, look at me. No issues. Like, this is going to be fine. Fantastic. We're going to go down. I don't feel anything here. You can feel the lack of breath, but it's nothing like when you get to like 5'9". But yeah, then I was like, okay, sweet. Let's go back down, head down for dinner, get down to $4,000.
Mate, what are you eating when you're going up the mountain?
Kilimanjaro is pretty special for one of the seven summits. Yeah. As in, you're heavily encouraged to support the local economy and have a load of porters. So I had 4 porters, a chef, and a guide, because it's like the done thing. And I didn't realise that I was paying for so many porters initially. You can do it without. Legally, you need a guide. But yeah, that's just the way we did it. Yeah. So it was basic, like rice and soup and a tiny bit of meat and things like that, and pasta dishes with vegetables. A lot of vegetables and carbs. That was it really. So we get down to 4,000 and it's kind of like 5 p.m. and I'm thinking, I feel a bit funny here. I've never really suffered with nausea in my entire life, but feeling a bit funny. Dinner rolls around 7 p.m. and I'm thinking, I don't feel great, but whatever. Like, I'm going to sleep it off. We're sleeping lower. It'll be fine when I wake up. Go to have my first mouthful of soup and everything comes out. So I'm like, no, can't do this. Run out the tent. Throw up 7 times that night in total from 7 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. So after the first throw up, I get into bed and it's like clockwork. Every half an hour, you sort of feel your stomach coming up, like just enough time to open the tent.
Mate, so after my accident, I was on blood thinning injections, and I got like a bout of sickness, mate. And you lay in bed and you're like, oh, I'm going to be sick. No, maybe it'll go. Doesn't go.
Yeah.
I was sick.
It just builds
I wasn't
up.
as bad as you, but I was like 2 hours later sick again. Yeah. And I was so much less mobile than I am now. So it was proper ag, like trying to get to the toilet on my crutches, mate. And God, yeah, it's just not ideal. Being sick is crap, isn't it?
Especially so I'm in a tent at that height and it's pitch black, so I can't go down the mountain. So I'm hanging out the side of my tent and I'm throwing up. It's 10:30 p.m. and I'm thinking, the only thing that's going to fix me is to get down that mountain. It's too dark to go down. I'm just going to have to suck it up. Luckily or thankfully, that was the last time I threw up that night. So I managed to get a bit of sleep, woke up at 7-ish or whatever. Felt okay in the morning, like stomach was settled. Obviously, you've thrown up everything, all the calories I consumed the previous day.
Were you worried, as in knowing about fitness, nutrition and that, thinking, I've not eaten anything here and I've just spewed my guts up?
I wouldn't say worried, just aware.
You're aware,
I'm aware that I'm dehydrated. I'm aware that my body's going to be running on reserves now. Yeah. But it was a case of, there's over 1,000 people know I'm, care that I'm on this mountain and expect me to climb it. Yeah. The only way I'm not going to get to the top is if I can't keep putting one foot in front of the other, or I'm, if I keel over,
Mate, not to, you've been to Tenerife, I've been to Tenerife, but when I was when I was running the Atacama Crossing, day 2, violently sick and within the first 5k. So didn't eat anything, and it was a 40k day. Anyway, I keep running, keep drinking, still not eating anything because I know it's going to make me sick. Get to the halfway checkpoint, they're like, oh, keep drinking water, so they forced me down. I literally carried on another maybe 4k and was violently sick, threw everything up, and you are aware, and you're like, God, I've not eaten anything, and especially in the desert. I was in the Chilean desert, which is quite high as well, at altitude.
Sure. Yeah, what is that, like 3,500?
Yeah, we start at 3.5 grand. But then, to be fair, you run down to about 2 grand, and then the rest of the marathon's at 2 grand. But yeah, mate, and I was like, oh, there's no way I can come off, mate. Too many people. That helps hold you accountable, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Not relying on you, but want to see you do well. And also, you don't want anyone to have that ammunition in their gun, mate, when they go, oh yeah, but you wrapped on that marathon when things got tough.
Yeah,
just like,
that stings, doesn't it? And it's like every man and their dog's climb Kilimanjaro. It's not exactly like the actual fitness isn't difficult.
I didn't want to say that, mate, but I know some old bastards.
I think there's like 8-year-old is the youngest that's done it. So physically, it's nothing special. It's just about how your body reacts to altitude. So I was like, I cannot let this beat me. So anyway, long story short, I just kept creeping up. Like, had nothing left. Didn't eat for over 48 hours, but we made it up, and it's amazing. It's amazing. That's my first time at that altitude. When you're on the final day, that summit push, you start at midnight. You try and get up for sunrise. You're sucking air in as fast as you can, and breathing as deeply as you can. You're walking at about a quarter of the speed that you would up a hill at ground level, and your lungs are beating at your heart's beating at like 3 times the speed. You're like, I don't know, one.
Probably feels like your lungs are beating.
Yeah, it feels like your lungs are beating at that point. Exactly. You can't even walk at a quarter speed, 25% speed, without having to stop every couple of minutes. And anyway, it's just incredible, the lack of density of the air. Like, everyone always talks about it, but even at 5,500 meters, it really does get you. So I'm not. It's one of my major passions still now. The next one, as you know, is going to be the next big one's Aconcagua, the highest in South America.
We were looking to do that together until I got tangled up in my parachute.
You ruined everything.
Yeah, I know. What an idiot. Don't worry. So it's funny, my mum and dad said a similar thing to me when I was 4 years old. Everything. No, they didn't. I love them loads.
Different motivation.
Yeah.
So that's 1,000 highest. So that's like, just under. That's about 6, 7, is it? Something like that.
Yeah, it's just shy of 7, I think.
Okay, yeah. You see, I do my research.
Yeah, I'll be all right.
Yeah, exactly. So no, I love it, and I'm going to acclimatise better this time. But no, it's nice to be tested like that.
Mate, 100%. And I love, and I wouldn't even. It is mountaineering, but Kilimanjaro isn't very technical at all.
Not at all. Like, there's barely any hand-over-hand stuff.
Yeah, I don't really get. I don't understand people's mindset. Like, they go, why would you want to do that? And I said, why not? Because it's such a sense of achievement. I think once you test yourself and you've got something like that in your back pocket, so when life gets tough, you go, no, I know I got through climbing Kilimanjaro. I can get through whatever life throws at you. And I just think now people look for maybe the wrong validations rather than going out and exerting themselves and then thinking, wow, I've really loved this. That's some of the best self-worth validation that you can get out there, and it just sets you up for any of those challenges that you face.
It's tests that give you strength. You don't know how strong you are, and you don't get stronger without, it's like going to the gym, gradually building yourself up. And the people that just avoid adversity are the ones that aren't going to be the strongest when inevitably that adversity comes towards them.
Yeah, definitely. So we've climbed Kilimanjaro, mate, and do you want to give a shout out to the guiding company you use, because they give you like a cracking deal, I think, and by the sounds of it, they were really on the money.
Yeah, for sure. And I also did my safari with them, and it was an elite experience. Obviously, I'm not going to talk about animals now on the podcast, but if you want to watch that video, it blew my mind. The Serengeti is incredible, and this company were fantastic. And when you book from Europe, and if you Google now Kilimanjaro climb, you're paying white middlemen so much money to get the job done. But this company, MAFI Adventures, MAFIE Adventures, you'll find their information on my posts or videos. Cut out the middleman. You're going to pay just over cost price. Obviously, a bit goes into their pocket, but they're completely fair with their prices. Give you the ultimate experience and then like an intimate experience with proper local Tanzanian people.
Yeah.
And I couldn't recommend them enough. Yeah.
So when you say what was the total cost for that, and do you pay your ports separately or is it all included?
So it depends vaguely based on the season, but it's around $1,400 US. For a climber to climb Kilimanjaro, and then you're expected to tip your porters, because the park fees, just for context alone, for Kilimanjaro are $800. So you're paying like $1,400. $800 of them are just for park fees. So like, there's not a lot going into these people's pockets, and then you're expected to tip in the region of $250 or $200 in total to your guys.
Each.
No, in total.
Oh, okay.
So so these porters get paid $10 a day roughly, and so it's nice if you can give them another 10, just as a thank you for all the work they do. But when you speak to your company, obviously whoever you go with, you can, like I said, negotiate how many porters you want, and the chef and whatever. But I'd recommend doing it with the 4 and
well, you said as well, like they're really, really good guys.
Yeah, and it adds. So we were on low season, and it added to the atmosphere on the mountain hugely. Like obviously there was a bit of a language barrier, but to have a little bit of a laugh and to be able to support them and support the economy is a nice thing to do.
Yeah, and they're so, like you said, I couldn't believe how grateful they were, appreciative, and they're just genuinely nice people, aren't they?
For sure, and that was a key theme in Tanzania and in Africa in general. I think even in Asia, like when you go to these lower stress places, the people that aren't constantly paying parking tickets or filing tax reports or stuck in traffic, they have so much less residual cortisol and stress that they're just nice to interact with. It's not like a grumpy Brit,
Yeah, definitely. So Southeast Asia was the Philippines. What was your highlight from that trip? Apart from Kilimanjaro, because that must have been some sense of achievement.
It has to be the Hadzabe tribe.
Was that the hunter-gatherers?
Yeah, the hunter-gatherers.
I was hoping you'd say that, because that looked so alley, mate. So tell us about that.
So no one really does this, and it's a bit of a rogue, off-piste thing to do. But I actually organised this with Mafi as well, because I was friends with the head of the company, and because I'd done the safari and whatever with him, he helped me organise going into the African bush, just off the plains of Lake Eyasi. It was a 4-hour drive by actual road to get there.
Something I really want to do, mate, after watching the video. It looked so awesome, mate.
So 4-hour drive on road to get there, followed by an hour drive just on dust to get there.
Is this Tanzania still?
In Tanzania still, yeah. Arrive there, it's just me, the driver, a translator, and then we arrive at the edge of their... the translator's like a guide as well, so that was organised. So he knew roughly where they would be or where their last known camp was. We pitch up at the camp. He calls them. You can see the call in the video. He does this call in their language. It's pretty wild. I'm just standing there, the only white guy in a 50-kilometer radius or 60-kilometer radius. I don't know what's going to happen. One of the tribesmen comes out with the bow and arrow in hand. They're always carrying the bow and arrow, always dressed up. I learned how to greet them. I can't do the clicking noise though, but I did my best. Said hello. I was invited into the camp. Stayed with them for 1 night, 2 full days. Hunted with them. The first hunt was an evening 2-hour hunt. The second hunt was a 7-hour hunt, which was intense. And just kind of live with them. They obviously have no access to the internet. They have no technology. They don't even wash, but they don't smell because they're smoke bathed all the time because they're always lighting fires. But they go down to the river and wash occasionally as well. And that's where they get their water from. And they are the last hunter-gatherers in Africa and one of the last hunter-gatherers in the world.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Now there's some tourism and the animals are depleted a little bit. Some of them use basic carbohydrates that they can buy from the town with tourist money.
Yeah.
But in general, the vast majority of everything they do is hunter gathering.
That's amazing.
It really is
amazing. What was one of the takeaways you took from that experience?
How happy they were and how content they were and how selfless they were.
Yeah.
I think they were the main thing. So I did a bit at the end after I spent the 2 days with them. I asked them a series of questions based on things I picked up.
This is what I wanted you to touch on, mate.
And one of the questions was, so you see tourists come in, white people, their ability to travel, their whatever, my muscles or my money or whatever it is, and the fact of the
muscles.
Yeah, I thought they might. I was trying to give myself a bit of credit, but
all right, fucking hell.
But I was anything.
Pick me.
Yeah, anyone.
Yeah.
So I was trying to think any reason that they might have to feel a bit of jealousy or envy or want to experience a different life, and there was nothing at all. It was a unanimous decision. We like the life we have. We have enough. We have what we want. There's nothing that you can offer us that we want. We wouldn't want to trade lives with you. And another question about what their favorite thing about life was, and they just described the fact that they're at one with nature. They appreciate. They go out into the bush. They get their food. They come back, and they're just chill. None of those external stresses. And it really hammered home the fact that we're always trying to improve, not mentally and physically, because I think that's a meaningful pursuit, but acquire more money, acquire more wealth, acquire more things, push on. More crap, yeah. The things that don't matter and just get cluttered in our mind. And it puts into perspective what you actually need to be happy. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's having your food, your shelter, your water, having your social circle, and just decluttering everything else,
Mate, I don't know if we spoke about it when we trained together last time, but when I was on the boat and rowing the Atlantic, I told you I didn't fucking miss Rolex, Balenciaga t-shirt, the Land Rover Discovery that I had on the sponsorship deal. I missed my friends. I missed my mum, my dad, coming around with grannies for a Sunday roast, all of that. So I totally know when you've got, like, I had nothing on that boat. I was in a 7-metre boat in the middle of the Atlantic. You realise what you actually need and what actually brings you happiness.
For sure. And one thing that I thought was majorly interesting as well, something they neglected that you've just picked up on there, is friends and family, right? They're constantly in their social circle of 20 to 30 people, however big the tribe is. They get up to 100 people, but they're constantly surrounded by everyone that they care about and everyone that they know about, right? So they're never longing for missed loved ones or anything like that, or feeling detached from a sense of social connection. But they are longing for food, because every single day they've got to go out and get their food and provide resources for themselves. And it's the inverse for us. Like, all we need to do is go to the fridge or the supermarket for our food, and so we're never longing for that. But we're always longing for that sense of social connection, especially in an ever increasing digital world where we're trying to find meaning and purpose socially, whether it's with your friends and family or your wider community, you know?
No, totally.
I found that fascinating.
Yeah. Mate, so you've been doing this a year. So what would be maybe your advice for someone that's looking to do something similar to yourself? What have you learned? What's one of the things that you don't enjoy about that almost nomadic traveller lifestyle adventurer? I've asked you a couple of questions.
Two things. So you'll have to prompt me if I
let's
forget one of them.
Let's answer this. So what would be your advice for someone that's looking to maybe do something like this, get on into the YouTube space?
Two things there actually. One of them is you're going to be rubbish initially. Like, don't think that you're going to start and you're going to hit the ground running. Your first YouTube video is going to get, less than 100 views unless you really got a load of mates. It's going to be rubbish. As soon as you put it out, you're going to look back and you think, why did I put the camera there? Why did I put the lighting there? This is rubbish, that's rubbish. And there's also going to be loads of stuff that you don't realize is bad until 20, 100 videos down the line. So it's a case of having that confidence that it's not necessarily going to be what you want it to be, but you don't care. Not that you don't care, but you're not emotionally attached to the outcome. So you go and try your best and you just improve and improve and improve, and don't just brush off. You need to be able to brush off any criticism and that negative internal.
Do you get a lot of criticism?
No, but from myself, I guess, right?
Okay,
so and I always say this: the people that criticize you are the ones that are beneath you. They're the ones that are trying to drag you down again. But
what is it? No one criticizes from above.
Yeah, exactly. So that would be a major thing for me if I was giving some advice. And the other thing would be do what you want to do. Obviously, it comes back to
run your own race.
That 9-to-5 job. You don't have to compete with anyone else. You don't have to live in a domain that you don't want to pursue because your parents want you to, or whatever it may be, or socially you think you should. Choose what you want to do and pursue it. Because if you're not passionate about something, the motivation is going to go over time.
Yeah, exactly, mate. And then go on. Then what's one of the pitfalls? What's something you don't like about this life? If there is anything, you might be.
Something I learned that I wasn't sure about prior to is the nomadic lifestyle is. The lack of routine is hectic.
Yeah.
Like it became too much for me. So my first trip was 5 months. Came back to the UK for a month, and then I went to Africa for 9 weeks, so just over 2 months. And I coped with the routine in Africa because I managed it much better. But the 5 months initially, I wanted nothing more than to be able to just wake up, be able to get food from the fridge, not have to speak to people every day. Like it's tiring, it's intense. So. Prepare that in, work out what kind of person you are, and learn more. You learn so much about yourself when you're solo traveling. So it's not all rainbows and and pots of gold,
Yeah.
You've got to take the good with the bad, and the loneliness as well, because I've obviously lived a lot of my life, as I described with my job, as like a without sounding like Alan from The Hangover, a bit of a lone wolf.
Yeah.
So that helped a lot.
Like the one-man wolf pack. The one-man wolf pack tattoo on my foot.
Is that what you've got?
Yeah, mate. I was pissed in Bali.
So I knew what it was to be kind of alone with your thoughts, and I was very content with that. And this has just strengthened that entirely. So I think traveling alone is a hugely beneficial to build mental fortitude. So yeah, I encourage it, and you learn the positives and the negatives from it.
Nah, totally. And then what's next, mate?
What's next? So I've got all summer in the UK. And the money's running out a bit, guys. So what I'm going to do is I wanted to combine my skill set with, I guess the best way of putting it is with the most mentally fulfilling thing for me, which is online personal training. So I want to be able to provide for whatever it is, a fat kid that wants to lose some weight, a fat older man, or a skinny kid, or a skinny older man, or whatever, or a woman that thinks they can benefit from what I have to offer. So I'm going to start some online coaching. Yeah, obviously more details to follow, but that's what's going to come out while I'm in the UK, alongside another thing and another couple of challenges. I'm not going to say yet, but
is it the world record we spoke of?
Yeah, slightly different one now.
Yeah, okay, cool. No, I get that.
I'm still ironing out details, unless
yeah.
the details are in zone and you've got a good chance of doing it.
I get that, yeah.
Yeah, and then...
You'll have to tune in when I get them back.
Yeah, exactly.
On Series
when
5.
I've done it. World record holder, Adam Radcliffe.
Yeah. And the most paper aeroplanes made in an hour.
Yeah, exactly. How did you know that?
Oh, mate, hey, intuition.
You've got that intuition, Jack. So, and then... As soon as the weather gets cold, I'm bolting again. Yeah. So October is going to come around. I don't have an exact date yet, but we're doing Central and South America. So Aconcagua, as I said, variety of challenges. There's some insane diving off the west coast of that part of the world as well. So lots of cool stuff on the way, and that's going to be part 3. It's like a 3-part series. The Southeast Asia, the Sub-Saharan Africa, and the Southern America.
Yeah, awesome, mate.
That's what I'm concerning myself with next. Yeah.
Mate, awesome, man. Thank you for sharing. I've loved having you on the podcast. Wanted to get you on for a while. But my final question, mate, is if you could give young Adam some advice, what would it be?
It's a big question, Jack.
It's a great question.
It's a great question. The advice would be, and this is the exact same thing that I said at the end of my last Q&A that I uploaded, it's you don't need to feel like your life is a 10 out of 10 in order to be happy. You don't need to have everything that you think you want in order to be content. Look back at what you've achieved in the last 1 year, 10 years, and how far you've come. Extrapolate that forward. Like if I take myself back, what I've done in the last year, it's incredible what I've achieved relative to what I thought I could. And so just because I'm still lacking some metrics that I think are going to be important for the rest of my life doesn't mean that I should live my life living in the future, not in the present, and longing for those things and not being happy in the moment. So the advice would be enjoy where you're at, look at what you've achieved, and just keep working hard, because continually measuring yourself against everything that you don't have is not going to give you the best net happiness for your life, if that makes sense.
I love it, and that's some brilliant advice, mate. And guys, that is the end of the episode today. If you've enjoyed it, please could you follow, like, and subscribe, as it really helps grow the podcast. Thank you for listening, Adam.
Thank you, Jack. It's been a pleasure.
That was, mate. I really enjoyed that
fun.
one.